Okay, this is a very special episode, Monks and Punks. I'm here with my cousin, Luisa. And before we start our spirited, energetic dialogue, I'm just going to invite everybody to just kind of center down. Does that sound good, Luisa?
Good, Sander. Let's center down.
Great. I found my Tibetan bell, so I'm going to ring the Tibetan bell, and I'm just going to invite the whole audience to take some deep breaths with us and just find your center and get centered down in the Quaker slash Buddhist tradition. Okay, my guest today is my cousin Luisa Giugliano, and she is a poet. She is a spiritual leader. She is the assistant clerk at the 15th Street monthly meeting. That's where we first met, but we are actually related. We didn't know this at first, but we are related through the Long Island Quakers, like the Seamans and the Hickses. So it's so great to have you on Monks and Punks. Luisa, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me, Sander. It's so special to be here with you.
It is very special. And I've never centered down, but I think we should make that a tradition going forward to invite people to have a little bit of meditation time, a little bit of silence. As we know, a lot of friends, Quakers, start every meeting with some silence, and it can really act as a portal from the crazy day to the present moment.
It's amazing how much happens in just those few minutes of listening.
Yeah. And I don't know if you can hear it, but I've also got wind chimes in the backyard and there's
Mhm.
sirens.
Yeah,
There's sirens out in the background. They were kind of in harmony. The fire truck sirens and the wind chimes were also just kind of working together. But I wanted to say thank you because you are going to be our special guest teacher at Peaceful Lake, Powerful Mountain 2025, our third annual peace retreat up at the Zen Monastery, July 11th through the 15th. And I'm excited that you're going to be a big part of that.
I'm really excited to spend time with community, co-creating something really beautiful. I love the way you voiced the lake, an invitation to heal with the elements, an invitation to make art and to make new shapes of worship and sharing and community and sacred friendship together. I'm really called into this space, especially as things get more and more rigorous and as we accelerate in the meta crisis. We need retreat and we need community more than ever. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you. You know, just summarizing what you just said is kind of like the motto for this year. What the world needs most is the expansion of consciousness. You know, the class consciousness, but also spiritual consciousness and revolutionary love, nonviolent consciousness, because the consciousness we have in the world is seems to be declining, so we need to elevate our consciousness, and so it's a retreat, yeah, that I'm excited to reconvene. We're going to have some people that we had last year too. Ahron Dardik, the
Mm.
Israeli conscientious objector, just expressed interest in coming back. So I'm excited about him coming back. He just got arrested at the gates of Columbia University protesting the abduction of Mahmoud Khalil, who was swept off the streets and deported to Louisiana, even though he has a green card. And so, what's going on? How peace activists and humanitarian activists for Gaza are being targeted. We've got to stand up. And I was inspired by Ron because he said that he was inspired by attending the retreat last year, and he's been studying Gandhi and applying Gandhi to his work at
Mm.
Columbia.
Amazing. Today was a sad day. I opened the paper in the morning with my coffee, and there was a gentleman, another activist from Colombia, who was up in Vermont at his about to become a citizen. Did you read about this?
Yeah, yeah.
His
And he
book.
showed up for his hearing. They
Yeah,
turned the tables on him. That's so cruel.
exactly. And he described his work all about peace. I think he was one of the leaders of the Student Buddhist Collective at
Right.
Columbia. He just
He's-
became a member of our meeting on Sunday.
Oh, congratulations.
That's
Namaste.
really cool.
And you're also a poet. You want to tell us a little bit about poetry and creative writing and how you're going to maybe integrate that into what you maybe are offering at Peaceful Lake this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in poetry as a strategy for liberation.
Ah,
Poetry as a contemplative act that tunes us into that small voice, that mysterious voice, something beyond right and wrong, something reparative and complex. So a poetic stance just brings us into an in relations sensitivity. So I love poetry to make meaning. I love writing poetry with others, listening to poems, using poems as sort of offerings, gifts, in the gift economy of friendship, collecting poems, making poems, bringing poems to each other, a kind of reverence and a kind of listening to each other.
Oh, that's great. That's great. You know, I was just up there for a week at a formal Zen retreat. Our retreat is not going to be so formal. We'll do some Zazen, but it won't be 13 hours of Zazen and cleaning the floors.
How was
But
it? How was your retreat? What
my
does
retreat
it
was
take?
it was intense. And there's plenty of times in which you want to run away. You're like, I'm in some sort of crazy Eastern prison camp. You know, this Eastern wisdom is too much for my Western vessel, and you want to run away. And I actually I was thinking about running away at one point, and then I realized it was just my ego and my sleep deprivation and my own bullshit. I needed to get out of my own head,
Really?
needed to get over my bad self, and I needed to clean the floor. And I kept on thinking, like, I'm too old to clean the floors. They shouldn't have assigned me to clean the floors. But no, it was actually perfect because it was me and an older Japanese guy who were cleaning the floors together. And I would tell Genliu, I think I want to have a coffee break in the middle of cleaning the floors. And he'd be like, no, clean.
Yeah, it's amazing how hard it is for us to surrender.
Yeah. And then you learn, oh, actually cleaning the floors is not that hard and it's actually kind of enjoyable. You're getting quite a workout.
It's embodied, it's exercise, it can be social even.
It's like downward facing dog, but running because you're bent over with this wet rag and you're running along the floor grain, the grain of the wood. You're just going with the flooring wood. And there's also great yoga classes and there's a lot of Zazen meditation and a lot of Dokusan, yeah, which is, as you probably know, FaceTime with the Roshi. We have kind of a new Roshi up there, younger guy. We used to have a
Mhm.
Roshi who is female. Shinge Sherry Shiat Roshi. She is getting on in years and retired. And so now we have this new Roshi, Chigan Roshi, who is fluent in Japanese and he has the entire Lotus Sutra memorized. And I was
Mm.
like, I said something corny in Dokusan to him. I said, oh, I'm impressed that you have the whole Lotus Sutra memorized. And he was like, no, it's not memorized. I embody it. And so, thinking about you and thinking about creative writing and poetry, which I started to teach creative writing at last year's retreat a little bit,
Mhm.
I was thinking, like, that's what it is. We shouldn't teach poetry.
Mm.
We should embody poetry, just like what you said about. Go
There's
ahead.
there's a great line. I can't remember the name of the poet who said this, but I used to want to be a poet, but now I want to be a poem.
Yes, be the poem.
Be the poem.
Exactly.
I like
Right.
be the poem.
Right. No, I had a teacher at the new school who I never really got until I didn't really get his class until years after the new school. But
Mm.
his name was Kurt Lampkin, and he taught this class called Live Poem, which was get it off the page, get it kind of like have it be kind of half written, half improvised. And I think he was really getting at trying to get people out of Western consciousness, of Aristotelian linear consciousness, and more into an intuitive improvisational consciousness in which I think it's more embodied.
Yeah, jazz.
Jazz, man. Exactly.
A living improvisational energy that we can join with and that I actually think we can also co-create and create shapes that are more beautiful. I've gotten more and more interested. I know we share also poetry. We also share the new school, by the way.
Yeah,
We
do
share
we?
the Lotus.
Did you go
Yeah,
there for
I
graduate
went
school?
to Eugene Lang as an undergrad.
What? I
Yeah,
forgot that detail.
right. So it's funny that we didn't meet before.
Yeah, I know. I know. We're downtown New York City,
Yeah.
dual legends who happen to be sort of
Listen,
related through marriage. Yeah, so
I'm totally embracing it. I'm not saying sort of. I mean, I see it as a spontaneous ancestral presencing. Meeting you and Sophie and feeling the kinship
yeah,
and just letting it in and just the mystery and the unexpected fitting together of life. It
yeah,
just somehow makes sense. So
yeah.
it's very powerful. I mean, it's cool to think that way back when our ancestors might have sat a bench away from each other and had their family experiences in close proximity to each other and also to history. And
Yeah.
then we would reappear in different bodies, the hands and voices and souls of our ancestors, Walt Whitman and Rachel Hicks and Elias Hicks and these.
Oh yeah. Are you reading my book I gave you, the Rachel Hicks book?
Yeah, I included, well, I think I have her forehead.
Oh yeah.
I included her. I've been reading it a little bit, and I think I immediately, in my close ancestors, though my mother and father loved me as best they could and loved like a god of the margin. My mother was a folk art collector, and she loved misfit toys, and she taught me to love what is in the cracks and what is broken and overlooked, and I'm so grateful for her. But she was an alcoholic, and
Oh
she wasn't able to presence that kind of strong ethical courage that I could sense in her, but that couldn't live in her. So being given an ancestor, but what I'm trying to say is being given a Rachel Hicks or a Sander Hicks or a Sophie, being given these family members, it's like being given fortification for the good fortress of love we're trying to build. And sometimes our
yeah.
parents or our close ancestors, they're not able to embody that because of trauma and limitations. And but somehow we can be that for each other. And so yeah, Rachel Hicks really inspires me. And just knowing that there have always been folks who hear a calling and rise up and
Yeah.
make their life their ministry. It's so powerful.
Yeah. So let's fill in the blanks a little bit for friends or other capital F friends, Quakers, or any friends who want to know the backstory here. So we were at a retreat together at the New York Quaker Quarter upstate, and a book kind of jumped off the shelves. It said Rachel Hicks, and it was her memoir. And now Rachel Hicks married a Hicks, but her maiden name was Seaman. And so she is your blood relative, and she has my last name, which is sort of similar to Elias Hicks, the famous Quaker abolitionist and preacher who also married a seaman. He married
Jemima Seaman,
Jemima Seaman.
who I'm descended from.
And you are descended from Jemima
I am
Seaman.
descended, and I think I sent it to you at some point. I have their wedding spoon with their initials on it.
You have it?
I have
Wow.
a picture of it. No, I don't. I
You
don't
have a
have
picture of it.
a
Okay.
picture of it.
But does that mean you are a descendant of Elias Hicks as well, or you're
That's a good question.
we
I'm a
need to do
descendant of Jemima Hicks, but if what I read, my uncle Bill sent me that, is that likely Jemima and Elias were also cousins.
that happens. Yeah.
So I don't know how publicly we wish to broadcast the,
Well, it's yeah.
but that's the way it was, that's the
Yeah.
way it was in spiritual, it's the way it always has been.
Well, the namesake of Hicksville is Valentine Hicks, who was the son of Elias Hicks and became the first president of the Long Island Railroad and married his second cousin, Abigail Hicks. So in that case, it was a Hicks marrying a Hicks, as opposed to his father, a Hicks marrying a Seaman. And this is not directly related to Rachel Seaman Hicks, but it is. I mean, she later married, I think, a cousin or a descendant of Elias Hicks. And one thing I got away from her book, and this is going to be a segue back to you, is that she dealt with a lot of grief in her life. Her sons did not survive her, and her
Husband.
husband also died during her lifetime. And I know you do a lot of grief counseling. Maybe if you feel inspired to share anything about that, how did you get into that?
Yeah. My mentor is an incredible guy. His name is Francis Weller. He's the author of a book called The Wild Edge of Sorrow, which is an incredible book. And I was actually just talking to him before we hopped on this
Oh,
podcast.
great.
And Francis is a poet and a grief worker. He's really a psychotherapist, soul-centered psychotherapist, and he is very famous for the community grief rituals that he holds. And so I was lucky enough to attend a ritual, and then I was really fortunate that Francis was willing to take me on as a mentee. And so I
Through
just
Union Theological? How did you meet him?
not through Union Theological Seminary. I met him through a friend of mine who's a therapist in the Bay Area. And yeah, I've been walking really closely with Francis for a long time. And though I do work with individuals around tending grief, grief as a rough initiation into love, transmuting grief, my interest is really in groups, Sander. I don't really think it's my grief, my anxiety, my depression. I think that it's village loss, and these are our collective wounds. And so through Francis, I became acquainted with community grief rituals. And I just held one last weekend. It's the heart of what I do, working with groups, because there's just a lot of power in the co-intelligence of groups. I really believe in that. I also just don't think we have time for one-on-one psychotherapeutic models. We have to wake up together. We have to hold grief together. And that is the way it has been handled all through the world. Grief is held communally, and it is kept warm, and we work it through so that we can become elders for one
Yeah.
another. And I think what we're seeing right now with Trump is like, grief, unexpressed grief is war. One who has not grieved is a powder keg in the community.
Mm, got that. One who is not grieved is war.
Is a powder keg in the community, and war is unexpressed grief.
War is unexpressed grief. Yeah.
Violence is a result of not holding with tenderness our losses and our initiations. I think we're seeing like a very adolescent, wounded expression of power right now.
Right.
There's this adolescence, but one who's grieved is initiated. And so I came to it because of some things that happened in my own life. I mean, sort of the tip of the iceberg is my mother, who I mentioned, who I loved so much and I was so close with, but also who was very sick. She died when I was in labor with your cousin, Cosmos.
Wow.
There was something about that experience, creating life and letting go of life, that just really took me into this territory of grief in a very deep way. And now I work with people a lot, around their losses, the loss of a loved one, but also the loss of the village, the loss of species, the loss of languages, the loss of making meaning together, the loss of wisdom, the loss of elders, of the pain of what we expected but did not receive, the ancestral pain that we carry, pain that we know. I'm sad because I lost this marriage or this job or this loved one. Yes, very real. But also the pain that we carry that maybe doesn't even belong to us. That's, racism, colonialism, the myth of separation, all that stuff.
I'm glad you mentioned the power of groups because at Peaceful Lake, every year we've done a kind of a group recovery meeting that's kind of universal recovery. It's based on AA, but you don't have to be in AA to come to this recovery meeting. It's called Revolutionary Recovery. And we did it first at Occupy, around the time of Occupy Wall Street at the Left Forum many moons ago, like 12 years ago. And we're going to, I think, make it a little bit more written out. And I'm inspired by the retreat this year. I had this insight to write out the 12 steps of revolutionary recovery. And I've also been thinking about the power of resentments and how we need to have a group meeting about resentments and then have a bonfire ritual. And
Amen.
yeah,
We're singing in the same choir. Like when I self-abandon, I develop resentment for you, or when I abandon the truth, which is our equality, right? And I develop resentments towards you, I'm poisoning the potential of our friendship. And we have to take it to ritual. We have to take it to ritual space. We cannot hold it in this logical world. We need a deeper space to hold it. And that's what this peaceful lake, powerful mountain will be for all of us.
so great. Awesome. Awesome. And I can't wait for you to meet Lo, my friend who does the Kaleidoscope Community Yoga and the Five Animal Frolic Qigong, because when you talk about creating shapes, it's almost like,
I want to play and I want to embody. So will he offer this yoga every day?
oh yeah, he does. And
Yeah.
his Qigong practice pretty
Uh,
much every day. He's also a licensed massage therapist, so he's
can one hire him to do body work?
yes,
Your
yes.
retreat? Uh,
he spontaneously just does body
he'll
work for
just
people.
do
He'll
it.
just come up. Yeah. First time I met him, he was like, "Here, get on my back." And he like we did back to back. And he had me on his back with my back on his back. And he was like bending over. And I had just driven cross country. And he just like cracked my back. And I was like, "Ah, wow, that was so great." Yeah.
So, this is a spiritual, a physical, a relational chiropractic adjustment.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it was so beautiful. People should see the video that we shot because it was such a beautiful moment when we were doing work with him at the shores of the lake on Sunday morning at the retreat last year. And I just had to jump out and grab the phone and because the rising sun in the lake was just so beautiful, I had to get that on video. So I'm glad I have that on video. No, it's okay. I have a question for you, but you're in the middle of saying something. So go ahead.
No, I'm so excited that this retreat is committed to being accessible to people. I'm so excited to be a part of something that really you said explicitly in your letter, no one will be turned away, that there's a commitment to be family friendly and
Kid
just
friendly. Yeah.
kid friendly and just centered on making a way for people to be there, whether it's through work or, people contributing what they can. That's exciting to me. I know
Yeah.
that it's 5 days and that
Yeah.
it's doable and it's in this beautiful place. I can't wait. It just sounds really, really inviting and appropriate at this time.
Well, one of the miracles of last year, and we prayed about this, me and an elder, a Quaker elder, Azania, because this kind of homeless monk dude, slightly neurodivergent, but a unique young man who had walked barefoot across the Catskill Mountains to the monastery. He happened to show up on the first day of our retreat, just wanting to see the monastery, wanting to meditate, and maybe join the monastery. So the other monks, the more established professional monks, said to me, they said, "Well, anybody else, we would have turned this punk away, but we know you have a
You
heart
have a
for
special heart for me.
for
Oh,
the hood rats and the riffraff and the punks." And so so we let this guy join up our with our retreat. And you know what? The miracle of the retreat. I happen to have it right here, but he gave me this book when he was leaving.
mentioned it and I wanted to know what book it was. You said it
Yeah, he gave
changed your
me,
life.
it's a book called The Time Has Come to Save the World from Total Destruction.
Yeah.
Appeal from a Japanese Buddhist monk. And it's Nichidatsu Fuji, who is the founder of this whole branch of Nichiren Buddhism, which is the focused around the mantra of the first lines of the Lotus Sutra, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which really means we're connected, I pay homage to Great Lotus Sutra, which connects us all. And so this guy, Nichidatsu, created all these peace pagodas influenced by the experience of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So to try to prevent nuclear war, this guy was doing all these pilgrimages, kind of
Mm,
like the way this young monk, Giovanni, had walked across the Catskill Mountains. So
beautiful.
by being open to the stranger, you get all these incredible gifts. And under the influence of this crazy monk, homeless monk, I accepted the book and read the book and then visited the Peace Pagoda in Tennessee and with my young son, had a great experience there. We camped out there, we chanted there, it was great. And then I went to the Peace Pagoda in Grafton, New York, and you happen to know somebody up there.
Well, my friend Alexis Bagot is a member of that community. I've had
Oh,
the pleasure to meet Jun-san, and I have been called to walk with them at some point. I mean, this tradition of walking for truth, I mean, I think we're seeing it in our Quaker community. I would
we
love to
are.
walk with this the Flushing Remonstrance group. There's something to just taking it, that's ritual, just taking it into your feet, into your body, and just walking together. It's
Yeah. So for those that don't know, our Quaker community is doing something pretty radical in honor of the Flushing Remonstrance and in honor of just trying to raise consciousness in this time. There's going to be a big walk from the Flushing meeting in Flushing, Queens, the Quaker meeting house, all the
Mhm.
way down to DC. Is that where they're
Believe
going?
so. I believe so. I don't know the route they're taking, but I want to walk at least a little bit for a
Yeah,
day.
we should. We
Yeah,
should.
we
We
need to
must we
get in.
must see them off at least. We'll probably end up doing the whole thing,
It's
but
just, I mean, I'm called. I'm called. I mean, we have to do something.
yeah,
Just business as usual is not working.
exactly. Exactly. And yeah, I even had a dream that there was a nuclear war during the Zen retreat. Zen is not all peace and love. A lot of shit comes up. So I had this dream of like the clouds had like these like dart-like clouds of nuclear missiles and stuff. So God forbid, through our resistance, we could stop the insanity with the grace of God and the grace of Dharmakaya. I'm really into Dharmakaya now. The idea of the body of the Buddha is everywhere through Dharma and through actions and through higher consciousness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'm thinking about Joanna Macy as you talk about nuclear threat and the Buddha. I mean, she was a great Buddhist and an active, she continues to be a great Buddhist and a translator of poetry and, an anti-nuclear, a voice against nukes. And I've been having dark visions too, Sander. I think we have to be open. We have to be open to feel it all, to feel the great joy, the playfulness, the importance of having our back cracked upon the back of a friend, spine to spine, the silliness of life and the exuberance of play. And we also have to open up to what we have done and the trouble that we are in. We got to do both. And we have to do it as friends,
Yeah. Yeah.
Kalyana Mitra, spiritual.
One thing that I was impressed with the Quaker walk that's starting, I think, in a couple of weeks is I asked them, are you guys going to camp? Are you going to get hotels? Where are you going to sleep? And they said, no, we're just doing it Quaker meeting to Quaker meeting. We've got it all mapped out. We think we can do it. We walk about 20 miles a day and it's from Quaker meeting house to Quaker meeting house. And
That
hopefully
is
they'll go.
so cool.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
ever done anything like that? Like the pilgrimages in Spain through France and Spain, anything like that?
I've never done a Catholic pilgrimage in Spain, but I've done something similar because when I first met Lo Nathamundi, I
Who's
met
gonna be on the
him.
retreat?
What's
The
that?
the yoga.
Yeah, the yoga guy who's coming to our retreat together. I met him because we met once in the Northwest at a kaleidoscope yoga event, and then I just saved his number and I came back to the East Coast and I put together a tour of the West Coast with him and me and a hip hop guy named Crazy Monk, who's an interfaith hip hop poet who has also been invited. He might come, I think, to Peaceful Lake. But we just spontaneously 12 or 11 years ago set out on this West Coast tour without even having really gotten to know each other first, but just as three pilgrims. We did a speaking tour together.
When was this? How old were you? What year was this?
It was, I know it was in my early sobriety. So it was like I was about 41 or 42. I think it was about 12 years ago, maybe less, maybe 11 years ago. Yeah.
Nice. Sounds
Yeah.
really special, very powerful. Take
Yeah.
it,
So
take it to the road.
take it to the road. Exactly. The road is powerful. I think
Well, the
Jesus,
stranger.
what's that?
To your point, the stranger. You said that earlier, and it gave me chills. Yeah, to
Right.
encounter the stranger.
You encounter the stranger, right? And Jesus was known as the traveling prophet. That's what the Muslims called him because he was such a traveler and loved to travel and, was out there creating a movement.
Yeah, the Buddha, Jesus,
Yeah,
Rachel Hicks,
Rachel Hicks. Yeah,
you.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, making the road by walking.
Great. Well, this has been great. Is there anything else that we should cover that we haven't covered in our 43 minutes so far?
No, I just think we extend a warm invitation
Exactly.
to those who are called to join us to do something beautiful, something
Ex-
nurturing together, to make a new shape, to pause.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make a new shape with us at Peaceful Lake, Powerful Mountain. It is July 11th through the 15th. It is one of the most beautiful places on earth, at least in New York State. People go and they think it's a whole different world up there because it doesn't feel like you're in New York State anymore. It feels more like you're in kind of a little bit of paradise. And
I heard it was renovated fairly recently
yeah,
yeah. And the
yeah.
food is vegetarian, as I understand
Food is
it.
all vegetarian. It's all going to be custom cooked, homemade food. We're going to have lots of creative writing, Zen meditation, yoga, qigong, healing circles, recovery circles, grief counseling, whatever you've,
Well,
yeah.
we'll do some community rituals.
We'll do community rituals. There's going to be a group altar. So you bring your object of devotion, bring an offering to the temple, and that's it. Peaceful Lake. More information is at nonviolence.works. And I'm excited. I'm excited that people are really excited that you're coming. Even some of the older Quakers, I think, are getting excited and are considering coming now. So I'm really excited.
Wonderful. That would be so, so cool. to join. I mean, our community at 15th Street is filled with such wisdom. I can't even believe it. The artists, the revolutionary spirit, the caring individuals, they've seen so much, our elders. It's nice to be kind of youngish.
Yeah, I know. We're
We're
young.
not kids
We're
anymore.
yeah, yeah. I know. I was just thinking at age 54, I'm young if you're old.
We have a lot of work to do because we have to support our elders.
Yeah,
Have to rise up and we have to take the load off their backs. They've done enough. They should do what only they can do with ease and rest and just bring their genius. And we should carry the heavy loads now. It's our time.
I got that. Thank you for that because I need to have more patience with some of the elders
Yeah. And the youngers.
and the youngers.
I struggle sometimes with the youngers too. Yeah.
Okay, well, peace and love to you, Louisa. Thank you so much for being on the Monks and Punks. This has been a very special episode, and I will see you on Sunday, first day at
Or Saturday for New York quarterly meeting.
oh, we're doing it on Saturday. That's right. I should listen more to the announcements. I did hear that.
Saturday.
I just didn't really yeah.
All day Saturday and all day Sunday. 15th Street meeting. I'll be there.
Marathon meeting. Great.
Fun meeting.
Great. All right.
Thanks,
Thank you, Louisa. I'll talk to you soon.
Sandra. Talk soon. Bye bye.
Peace.
Peace.